السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وآله وصحبه من والاه. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We're back to our daily lecture, inshallah ta'ala, a commentary on each juz in the Quran. You're supposed to have recited the third juz of the Quran today, or you're going to recite it in your Taraweeh tonight, insha'Allah azza wa jal. And now we're going to be saying the main lesson and learning together the main lessons of the third juz in the Quran, insha'Allah azza wa jal. I would recommend, as I always say, to have a pen and notebook, inshallah azza wa jalla, for this series or for this course, and try to share the information with your family members and your friends, inshallah azza wa jal. In this juz, we're going to learn something very interesting. The third juz in the Quran, it has two very important ayat. The first one, Rasulullah named it أعظم آية في القرآن, the greatest ayah, the greatest verse in the whole Quran. And the second very important verse is actually أطول آية في القرآن, the longest ayah in terms of size. The longest ayah in the Quran is also mentioned in the third juz of the Quran. But before we start our halaqah tonight, I would like to make dua for our brother, our respected brother, Dr. Abdul Hadi from Libya. I think everybody knows Dr. Abdul Hadi from Libya, especially people who come to the IOS. He's the father of Hafiz Munir, who used to lead Taraweeh in An-Nur Musalla. And Dr. Abdul Hadi, he has lost his brother back home in Libya, brother Abdul Hamid. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to shower His mercy on brother Abdul Hamid, Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen, and to elevate his ranks in Jannah with the prophets and messengers and the shuhada, and to grant his family, iman and patience. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma aghfir lahu warhamh. Allahumma aghfir lahu warhamh. Allahumma aghfir lahu warhamh. اللهم عافه واعف عنه. اللهم أكرم نزله ووسع مدخله. اللهم أبدله دارا خيرا من داره وأهلا خيرا من أهله وزوجا خيرا من زوجه وولدا خيرا من ولده. اللهم أفسح له في قبره مد البصر. اللهم اجعل قبره روضة من رياض الجنة ولا تجعله حفرة من حفر النار. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك يا ربنا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين. Don't forget, if you have time, maybe after this lecture, to offer condolences to Dr. Abdul Hadi by sending a message or maybe giving him a call. I just saw the news right before Maghrib prayer, so I didn't have time to reach out to him, but inshallah I'm going to do this after our lecture tonight. So tonight we're going, as I said, to discuss the third chapter, the third portion of chapter. Chapter is a surah, but the portion is one of the 30 portions, one of the 30 ajza. So in the third juz in the Quran, as I mentioned, we have the greatest ayah in the Quran, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he named it أعظم آية في القرآن الكريم. What is أعظم آية في القرآن الكريم? One time, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was talking to one of his students by the name of Ubay ibn Ka'b. And Ubay ibn Ka'b, he was one of the strongest huffaz. He was a hafiz of Al-Quran. You know, in this community we have students who have memorized the Quran, and they can even lead Taraweeh, mashallah, la quwwata illa billah. Amongst the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim, there were also some of the huffaz, and the Sahabi who was the strongest in terms of memorization and recitation was Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu. And by the way, for your information, Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b is the Sahabi that used to lead Taraweeh at the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. Because Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he's the one who started Taraweeh in Jama'ah in the Masajid, not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah started that for 1 or 2 nights, and then Sayyidina Umar continued that sunnah for every single day. And the Imam at that time who used to lead Taraweeh was Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b. His name is Ubay ibn Ka'b. So Ubay ibn Ka'b was one of the strongest Huffaz. One time Nabi sallallahu was walking with him, and he knows he's a Hafiz. He said to him, Ya Ubay, أي آية معك في كتاب الله أعظم. He said, Ya Ubay, Allah has given you the whole Quran. So which ayah in that Quran that you have memorized is the greatest in the sight of Allah and His Prophet? Sayyidina Ubay started thinking for a while, and then he said, I'm not really sure. Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Prophet know best. So he's so humble, radiallahu anhu. He might have heard the answer from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam before, and he was so humble not to answer the question until Rasulullah gives him the certain knowledge. Then Rasulullah asked him the question again, because Rasulullah knows that he is the most educated and he is one of the strongest huffaz. Ya Ubay, which verse in the Quran that you have given is the greatest in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal? فقال أبي يا رسول الله يا رسول الله آية الكرسي آية الكرسي آية الكرسي الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا. This beautiful ayah that speaks about the names and the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. It speaks about Tawheed, the most important foundation that every believer has to have, a Tawheed. Sayyidina Ubay said, Ya Rasulullah, I think it's Ayatul Kursi. Does anybody know what number Ayatul Kursi is? What number is Ayatul Kursi? Do you know that? If you don't know, I'm going to continue the story to the end until you post your answers. Otherwise, I'm going to say the number, inshallah ta'ala. Nabiyyu alayhi salatu wasalam, once you received that answer from Sayyidina Ubay, he beat his chest and said, لِيَهْنَكَ الْعِلْمُ يَا أَبَا الْمُنذِرِ. He said to him, congratulations for the knowledge that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you. Allah has given you a lot of knowledge, and yes, the greatest ayah in the whole Quran is ayah number. Yes, we have 2 answers here. Jazakumullahu khairan. 2 people answered the question. Sanzida and Saima. They said 255, which is correct. So the greatest ayah in the whole Mus'haf and the whole Quran is great. The whole Quran is beneficial. The whole Quran leads to Jannah. But the greatest ayah, Rasulullah named it the greatest. أعظم ayah. It's ayah 255. Why is it the most important ayah? Is because Allah Azza wa Jal, yes, it is 255. Dr. Salah also and Farah, they answered the same question. Jazakumullahu khairan for answering. Barakallahu feekum. This participation is actually the most important part of this lecture because it doesn't make any sense that I'm talking to myself. This way I know that you can hear me. There is no any problem in the internet connection, and we can learn together, inshallah Azza wa Jal. So 255, barakallahu feekum, Rida, Allah yahfazkum, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, Allahumma ameen. We are supposed to recite Ayatul Kursi in 2 very important times. The 2 times that we should not miss Ayatul Kursi at all are 1, after every obligatory prayer, which is at least 5 times a day. طيب. The second time is before we sleep. When we go to bed, before we close our eyes, Ayatul Kursi has to be recited. If we recite Ayatul Kursi right after the prayer, every obligatory prayer, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever recites Ayatul Kursi after every obligatory prayer, nothing will stop him from entering Jannah except death. He only has to die, and then he will go to Jannah. So it's a guaranteed. Don't miss Ayatul Kursi after the prayer. A lot of people, once they pray, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, they get up and leave. We understand everybody has work and it's okay, absolutely fine to get up and leave. Nobody is saying you have to say the adhkar at the masjid. This is the time to say the adhkar while you're walking outside of the masjid because of work. We need this balance between din and dunya. But at the same time, while you're walking, stepping out of the masjid, do not forget to recite Ayatul Kursi. And also before you sleep, it's important before we sleep to recite Surah Tabarak as well. تبارك الذي بيده الملك. But what's even more important is Ayatul Kursi. Why is it important? Nabiyyu alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned it will protect you from any whispers of the shaitan, from the unseen world and jinn, and it will also protect you from bad dreams. That's what Rasulullah mentioned alayhi salatu wasalam. Why is it extremely important? Why is Ayatul Kursi the most important? because it speaks about the theme of Tawheed. Allahu la ilaha illa hu. No one is worthy of worship except Allah Azza wa Jal, and then it mentions some other names and beautiful attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you don't forget, inshallah ta'ala, ayat al-Kursi every single day before you sleep and after every single prayer. That's the greatest ayah in the Quran that's mentioned in Juz number 3. So what is the longest ayah in the Quran? Does anybody know the longest ayah in the Quran? Let's see if you have an answer. I'll be waiting for your answers. So we said ayat al-Kursi is 255. Now the question is the longest ayah in terms of size. The longest ayah. It's actually a whole page in Mus'haf al-Madinah. In your right side, the one that, in your left side, the one that I memorize with. Longest ayah in the Mus'haf. Ayatul Dayn. Yes, Saima, barakallah fiqh. Or Fiki, barakallah fikum. Ayatul Dayn, brother Ahmed al-Maghrabi. Allahu Akbar, mashallah. Brother Ahmed al-Maghrabi is here. Very good to see you, Abu Rayyan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family. It's an honor for us to be attending our halaqah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your whole family, inshallah ta'ala. Ameen. Rayyan and Ahab and the rest of your family, inshallah. Yes, brother Muhammad Islam, it's 282. Ayatul Dayn. Yes, Ayatul Dayn is 282. Ayatul Dayn is the longest ayah in the Quran in the third juz'. So there is a very important lesson here that you can learn. That Allah Azza wa Jal, the longest ayah in the Quran is not about fasting, for example. Even though the ayah that speaks about fasting that we discussed yesterday is relatively long as well. But the longest ayah is not about Siyam. Yes, Muhammad Khalid, 282, barakallahu fikum. May Allah bless your son, Hafiz Abdullah Khalid. I still remember. And Allah didn't make the longest ayah about Tawheed, for example. No, He did not. He did not make the longest ayah in terms of size, the ayah about Salah. No, He did not. About Hajj, for example. No. He made it about Ad-Dayn. Ad-Dayn is people's financial rights. So it tells us how important it is in Islam to take care of people's financial rights. Barakallahu fikum, Abu Rayyan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Jazakumullah khairan. Jazakumullah khairan. Mushtaqun. Barakallahu fikum. Allah yahfazkum ya Rabb. Allah yahfazkum ya Rabb. It's Ayatul Dayn. Caring about people's financial rights. The longest ayah in the Quran. It says, whenever someone wants to borrow some money from someone else, he only borrows money when he really needs it. If I take people's money and they're not in need for it, it's highly disliked in Islam. To put myself in debt under any circumstances, unless it's a necessity, it's highly disliked. Makruh, karaha shadida. It's highly disliked to borrow money from people. You know, some people come to borrow money, for example, to buy an extra piece of furniture, and they don't really need it, or to buy a bigger TV, or to buy an updated phone, for example, or to go travel on vacation with their family. They borrow money for these reasons. That's highly disliked. Makruh, karaha shadida in the sight of Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the time when you have to borrow some money for some necessities or needs for you and your family, and you have no other option or no other solution, this ayah highly recommends for us to write down ad-dayn. Write it down. The name Muhammad and Ahmed. Muhammad is going to lend Ahmed $500, for example. They have to write down a piece of paper, like a contract, write down their names as it's shown in the IDs, and then the date and the amount and what time exactly he's going to return that amount of money. And Allah said, إِذَا تَدَيَنْتُمْ بِدَيْنٍ إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى فَاكْتُبُوهُ. Write it down. وَلْيَكْتُبْ بَيْنَكُمْ كَاتِبٌ بِالْعَدْلِ. You should have someone who is going to write down this contract, and also he has to be a witness. We have to find a witness. So someone is writing down, and two parties of the contract, and we have a witness with his name. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in Ayatul Ad-Dayn 282 in the Quran. Let's move on and see the rest of the lessons that we have in this beautiful juz'. Oh yeah, some of the most exciting stories in this juz' number 3 is the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Namrud. And Namrud is the arrogant king. And we're going now to see the story. It's actually right after Ayatul Dayn. This story is ayah 258. If you have the Mus'haf or you have an app or a translation, please follow with us. Open Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2, ayah 258, in which Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions a very important story that we need to reflect on, to take the lessons. And that's the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim, the father of the prophets, and An-Namrud, the arrogant king. What happened is, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, آتاه الله الملك. Allah has given that arrogant king a lot of, like a kingdom and a lot of power. And he became very arrogant that he actually used to debate and argue with Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam regarding Allah Azza wa Jalla. You know, we have some people nowadays, some tyrants, because Allah gave them some power, whether they are presidents of countries or they are people inside of their houses. Some people, because they are given a lot of power, they start to challenge Allah Azza wa Jal. They think that they can control the whole world. But you know what? This pandemic that we're going through right now, COVID-19, one of its benefits is that people, even the tyrants in the world, they learned that they cannot control the world. They're not equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody's equal to Allah. But that Namrud, he did not learn the lesson yet. So what he did, وَجَزَاكُمُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا يَا Abu Yusuf, Mohamed Zubayk. So happy to see you here from Libya. Barakallahu feekum. Brother Mohamed Zubayk is one of my close friends. MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. Very happy to see you. وَجَزَاكُم, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma ameen. طيب. We were saying that An-Namrud, Allah said, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِي حَاجَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ فِي رَبِّهِ أَنْ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ. Are you aware of that arrogant king that who argued with Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam regarding Allah Azza wa Jal, because Allah gave him kingdom and power? What did he say to Sayyidina Ibrahim? He was describing his power, so Sayyidina Ibrahim was responding in this argument and this debate. He said to him, رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. Look, my Lord, Allah Azza wa Jal, is the one who gives life and causes death. Can you do that? And by the way, there's a condition here. If you think of yourself that you can give life, you need to do it from nothing. Because Allah Jal does it from nothing. He gives life out of nothing. رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. Then the Namrud said to him, I can do the same thing. I can give life and cause death. Look at that. What did he do? He brought two of his prisoners, two people from the jail, and he asked, or he commanded his soldiers to kill one of them and to release the other person who was supposed to be killed. And then he said to Sayyidina Ibrahim, look at me. Now I gave life to the second and I caused death to the first. That's how he did it. But actually, that's not exactly appropriate. Because Allah Azza wa Jal, when He gives life out of nothing. And when He causes death Azza wa Jal, we don't know the reality of ruh and how the ruh comes out of our bodies when we die. We don't know that. So even that Namrud, that arrogant king, he cannot do that. Then Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam continued to debate with him. And then he said, قال فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب. Allah Azza wa Jal causes the sun to rise from the east. So show me your power and make the sun rise from the west. I'm waiting for it. And of course, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. That arrogant king, he was very surprised and shocked. Look at this challenge, I cannot get over this. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah Azza wa Jal did not guide the wrongdoers. So what can we learn from this story in Surah Al-Baqarah in the third juz of the Quran? We can learn that we don't have to argue with people unless they start arguing, because Allah said, وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ. Do not argue with the people of the scripture إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْهُمْ. Except if they start and they falsely start to argue with you regarding your religion. Now you have to be powerful and show them the power and the knowledge and start arguing. Otherwise, we don't start debates. We don't start arguments. That's what Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam did right here. Number two, we can learn that there's no one in this world who can control anything. And there's no one, whether he is a president of a country, or he's an employer, or he is someone at home, or someone in the community. No one has the power of Allah Azza wa Jal. Forget about it. We are nothing compared to Rabbil Alameen, for sure. We are nothing. Like, I have to repeat it again. The other story that's mentioned also in chapter 3 is a very interesting story when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Allah Azza wa Jal a question that sounds challenging. But of course, Sayyidina Ibrahim was not challenging Allah Azza wa Jal at all. You know, sometimes when our kids ask us some questions and we think these are very weird questions, like, where is Allah Azza wa Jal? Or they ask you, prove to me that Allah is there. Or, you know what, how can I believe in something that I don't see, for example? Or why do we pray in the first place? Why do we have to fast? Why do I have to go for Hajj? Why do I have to do these rituals, for example? Why do Muslim women have to wear hijab? Why do they have to wear hijab? These challenging questions, when some people ask them, we tend to think that they have weak iman. And sometimes when one of our kids ask these questions, we become harsh when we tell them you're not supposed to ask these questions. You know what? In this ayah number 260 in the third juz of the Quran, we're actually being taught by Allah Azza wa Jal that if someone asks you a challenging question, I'm not supposed to accuse him of lack of iman. Especially our youth, they have very challenging questions because they were brought up in an environment that's not an Islamic environment. So maybe the iman is not as strong as your iman as someone who came from a Muslim country. So when they give you a very challenging question, we need to go look it up, ask the imams, ask the sheikhs, ask people who are educated, and then go back to them with the answer. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam said to Allah Azza wa Jal, Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-maut. Ya Rabb, I believe that you resurrect the dead. I believe in that because you mentioned in the Quran that everybody is going to be resurrected and meet Allah Azza wa Jal in the day of Qiyamah. But I want to see with my own eyes. No? You can match today. You can relate to today's people when they say, I don't believe in what I don't see. So Sayyidina Ibrahim is saying here, what? Ya Rabbi arini, I want to see with my own eyes how you resurrect the dead. Allah Azza wa Jalla asked him, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ? Ya Ibrahim, don't you believe? Allah knows that Ibrahim believes. But Allah wanted us to learn this story, and He has it in His Quran Azza wa Jal for us to learn that people, when they ask questions, even if it sounds very weird, we still need to answer these questions and look up the answers. أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ? Don't you believe, Ibrahim, that I can resurrect the dead? فقال سيدنا إبراهيم بلى, of course I believe, ولكن ليطمئن قلبي, but I want to have tranquility in my heart. I want to be certain about what you have taught me. I want when someone else who is outside of the Muslim community or somebody who's challenging me from within the Muslim community, I need to have the answer. I need to be certain about that. What did Allah say to him? قال فخذ أربعة من الطير. You need to bring 4 birds. فصرهن إليك. Bring them close to you. Why does he have to do this? He brings them close to him to make sure they are alive. فصرهن إليك. Make sure they are alive. ثم جعل على كل جبل منهن جزءا. Then cut them into small pieces. And you see these mountains and hills around you. Put a piece on each mountain, a piece of these birds that you cut into small pieces in top of these mountains and hills. And then stand up in the middle. وَادْعُهُنَّ يَأْتِينَكَ سَعْيًا. Stand up in the middle and call them to you. All of them are going to come to you again, alive. And that's how I do it. وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah is the most wise and He is the most powerful. And that's how Allah Azza wa Jal answered Sayyidina Ibrahim's question. By the way, some brothers they ask me, why do you drink with your left hand? I think the way that the camera is showing me is that I'm drinking with my left hand, but I'm using my right hand. This is my right side, and this is my left side. Because I have some of my close friends and some of the community members, they actually ask me this question. This is my right hand, and this is my left side. Brother Idris was asking if I can answer questions outside of my topic. Of course, I can do that, inshallah Azza wa Jalla, if I have the knowledge for your question on the spot. Otherwise, I will delay it. But I would recommend to maybe type your question if you have any, and I will look them up after if it's not related to my topic. Because I have a weekly Q&A session at 1:15 on Friday. and I give the Friday message, and then I answer questions. But this series or this lecture is only for commentary on each juz of the Quran. But still, you can write down your questions, Brother Idris, and inshallah I will get back to you. You can text me privately in my public figure page, Dr. Mohamed Masloh, or text me if you want. طيب. The next point that we have here, yeah, that's very interesting. The importance of lending people money. I said that we're not supposed to borrow unless we are in dire need. Otherwise, it's very highly disliked. Now, Allah Azza wa Jalla talked about the importance of lending people money. How much reward I would gain if I give sadaqah for the sake of Allah compared to how much reward if I lend people money who are in need. First and foremost, don't lend anybody money unless you're sure he is in dire need. Okay, that's one. And then there's a comparison between the reward of sadaqah and the reward of lending people money. Right. Look at this hadith. Beautiful hadith. How much reward we will gain if we lend people money. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This hadith is in Muslim collection of hadith. It's very authentic, narrated by Imam Muslim. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever allows more time for a debtor who is in difficulty or waives the debt. You know, when somebody comes to borrow some money from you, you're supposed to lend him if you know he is in need. Okay. And then Nabi Sallallahu said, if you allow him more time, or if you waive his debt, Allah Azza wa Jalla will shade him with his shade. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to shade you with his shade in the day of Qiyamah if you allow people more time for them to pay back what you have lent them? The reason for this is, when somebody is in debt, he is very embarrassed when the time for the payment comes and he cannot pay it. So when you allow him more time, you're basically covering him from the embarrassment. You don't let him embarrass himself by allowing him more time and saying it's okay. That's how Allah will deal with you on the day of Qiyamah. He will also cover you from the heat of the hellfire and the sun that's going to be very close to us. May Allah make us amongst those people. Okay, Nabi Sallallahu in another narration, he told us the reward of sadaqah compared to the reward of lending people money. Do you know that the reward of lending people money is much, much, much higher than the reward of sadaqah? Look at this. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. That person who gives more time to the debtor if he cannot pay back his loan, قال النبي, he will have for each day the reward equivalent to giving that loan in charity. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. What does it mean? Muhammad came to Ahmed and he borrowed from Ahmed $500. And he said, okay, I'm gonna take these $500 May 1st and give it back June 1st. Okay. From May 1st to June 1st, Muhammad, because he lent Ahmed this money, he will be given the reward of $500 in charity every single day. Allahu Akbar. Not only this, if Ahmed came June 1st and told the Muhammad that I cannot pay the money right now, can you please give me more 2 weeks, 15 days? And if Muhammad allowed him, Nabi Aslam said, Muhammad will gain the reward, double the reward of the $500 in charity every single day. Allahu Akbar. Look at that reward. It's just amazing. So the reward of lending people money is much higher than the reward of giving sadaqat. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and after the time of payment of the debt comes, that person who lent the money, he will have a reward equivalent to double the loan in charity for each day he delays it and gives the debtor more time. See, it's so beautiful. May Allah make us amongst those people. Allahumma ameen. If you forgive the debt, what is the ruling? It's up to you. We have a question here from Muhammad Salim. I assume he's Dr. Muhammad Salim. Salam, inshallah. Very good to see you on Facebook here with us. If you forgive the debt, what is the ruling? Forgiving the debt, again, we said if you wait until the time of the payment comes, every single day will have the reward of that charity for what you have given. And if you delay, the double of the reward for each day. And if you forgive it, you know what, the hadith is very obvious. Allah in the Prophet said, من أنظر معثرا وضع عنه غفر الله له, or كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet said, Allah will deal with us the same way we deal with people. You give people more time, Allah will give you more time to repent. You forgive people, Allah will forgive you. That's how Allah treats us, Azza wa Jal. But please, again, we have to make sure that the person who is borrowing money from us is really in need. Because otherwise, we are putting him in danger by asking for money that he doesn't need. So forgiving people's loans for people, that's, inshallah ta'ala, a reason for Allah to forgive our sins, because Allah deals with us the same way we deal with people. Allah's way in dealing with us is actually a reflection of our actions. Just take it as I said it now. That's how our sheikhs told us. Allah's way in dealing with us is a reflection of the way that we deal with people. So we deal with the servants of Allah in a certain way, Allah will deal with us in the same, in a certain way, Allah will deal with us in a certain way. Now, next point that we have here, I don't want to make it very long. The next point is actually about warning against Reba, and it's a war against Allah Azza wa Jal. You can find it in the Quran. And then, as we said, the longest ayah in the Quran is Ayatul Dain 282, about people's financial rights and how important it is. Then we start the next surah, which is Surah Al-Imran, the third chapter in the Quran. You find it in the third juz'. At the beginning of this third chapter, Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking about the Quran, and He gave the Quran another name. So this Quran that we have in our hands, it has too many names, but one of the names of the Quran is Al-Furqan. Al-Furqan. Al-Furqan means what? Is the balance that distinguishes right from wrong. It distinguishes what's true from what's false. So the name of the Quran in Surah Al-Imran in ayah number 4 is Al-Furqan, the balance that distinguishes between right and wrong. So if I have a debate with one of my Muslim friends, and we have two different opinions, and we have four schools of thought, and we respect all of them, but there is one school of thought, it has a very obvious evidence from the Quran. That has to be the end of our discussion. Khalas. It has to be the end of our discussion, because it's called Al-Furqan, the balance that distinguishes what's right from what's wrong. My dear brother Faisal Khan, barakallahu feekum. The question is, if a borrower passed away, who is in borrower family responsible to pay the loan? His heirs, people are going to inherit his money after he passes away. They have to pay it back. It's a debt on them. Like, for example, when my father passed away, he was in debt, and I had to pay some loans back to people. What happened? I knew some of them, and some other people called me, and we verified this, and we made sure that my father was in debt, and I had to pay back his loans, because I am responsible if I want my father to be forgiven. So this is the answer for your question, my dear brother Faisal, barakallahu feekum. What about the person who doesn't hear anything about Islam? He might or she might be Christian, Jews, or any other religion, and finally hearing something about Islam but cannot accept Islam because of their misunderstanding. This is a very excellent question. Please listen to brother Idris. Thank you so much for this question. Let me clarify this. It's not related to our topic. It's not. But this is a very important question. He says, what about someone who lives in our time and he doesn't know anything about Islam? He might be Christian or he might be a Jew, and he doesn't know anything about Islam. And do we believe that people who did not believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're not gonna make it to Jannah? Do we believe that only Muslims are going to go to Jannah? I think that's your question. What about that person? Okay. According to our aqidah, which is the aqidah of over 90% of the Muslims around the world, the Ash'ari aqidah, it says, رسالة الإسلام لا بد أن تكون واضحة ملفتة للنظر لسليم الحواس. Take this. Imam al-Ash'ari says, according to our aqidah, when we give da'wah to people, this da'wah, this message of Islam, has to be very clear and صحيحة, very authentic and sound. Number 3, لسليم الحواس. The person who is receiving the da'wah from us has to be also, he has the capability to receive the da'wah, meaning he is not deaf, or he is somebody who cannot see, or somebody who cannot hear. No, he is a person who is salim al-hawas. He is reliable, and he can hear and listen and read and understand. He doesn't have any disability. So your da'wah has to be sound and clear to someone who is reliable and can receive it and understand it. If your da'wah is lacking any of these 3 conditions, that person is considered in our aqidah from the people of the period. You know the people of the period? The generation or the people who lived between 2 prophets. And Allah said, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. So people who did not receive the clear message of Islam, it's a messed up message of Islam that they have received from some Muslims elsewhere in the world, who give them a very extreme view of Islam. And they don't know anything about our religion except the extreme version. Only the extreme version. None of us has come up to tell them the sound, clear aqidah. They only hear about Islam from the media. Those people, according to our aqidah, are excused. But once you tell them the true message of Islam, the sound message, and make it clear, they are not excused anymore. This topic is not related to our lecture today, but it's extremely important. How we view other people. And I'm going to talk about this right now. By the way, that's good that you mentioned this, because one of the points that I was going to discuss today, and I'm going to jump to this point, inshallah ta'ala. Look at this, subhanallah, your question, I think you, Brother Idris, you read the juz of today. Because your question about non-Muslims and how to view non-Muslims is actually in the 3rd juz of the Quran. Look at this. If you go to the Quran, Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 75 and verse 113. And I'm going to read with you verse 113 right now. So go to Surah Al-Imran in juz number 3, verse 113. As like more elaboration on Brother Idris's question, the excellent question, how do we view non-Muslims who don't know anything about Islam? What did Allah Azza wa Jal say? We have to be fair, brothers and sisters. We have to be fair. As I mentioned yesterday, we're not the best nation because of our lineage. No. We have some conditions to fulfill. If these conditions are fulfilled by us, we are the best nation. If these conditions are fulfilled by other people, they are the best nation, not us. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You enjoy what's good and forbid what's evil, and you believe in Allah. If we do this, we're the best nation. If other people do it, they are the best nation. Something that makes me very extremely sad, that we find some very few members in the Muslim communities. When you talk to them about non-Muslims, they live in a non-Muslim country, work with those people, and they laugh at their faces, and and then when you talk to them about non-Muslims, they always tell you they're kuffar. We just have to benefit from them as much as we can. Very few people think like this. Very few people think like this from amongst the Muslim community, and that's very dangerous. That's not how Allah Azza wa Jal taught us. If you open Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, Allah is telling us to be fair when we talk about and think about non-Muslims. Allah says, لَيْسُوا سَوَاءً. They are not all alike. The people of that scripture are not equal. Some of them are very good people, kind and sincere and caring. And some of them are very evil people and they hate anybody who is Muslim. Same thing in the Muslim community. You have people who are very righteous and people who are not righteous. Human beings. Human beings. We are human beings, they are human beings. Allah said, لَيْسُوا سَوَاءً. They are not all alike, they're not equal. And then He said, مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. Some of the people of the scripture, أُمَّةٌ قَائِمَةٌ يَتْلُونَ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ آنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ وَهُمْ يَسْجُدُونَ. Please listen, that's beautiful. That's what Allah says. There are some among the people of the scripture who are upright, or are just, or good people, who recite God's revelations throughout the night, prostrating in prayer. Allah is saying that. And then He went even farther. Ayah 114. They believe in God and in the last day. يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. They believe in God and in the last day. وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. They command what's good. وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And they forbid what's evil. وَيُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ. They compete with each other in doing righteous deeds. وَأُولَٰئِكَ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And Allah is saying, those people from amongst the people of scripture are among the righteous. And then He said, وَمَا يَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَلَنْ يُكْفَرُوا. And whatever good they are doing, they will never be denied that good. Allah will reward them for that good. And look at the ending of ayah number 115. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالْمُتَّقِينَ. The only one who knows the muttaqeen, the only one who knows what's in people's hearts, the only one who knows the best people is Allah only. Allah alone knows al-muttaqeen. What am I saying right now? Am I saying now that all religions are equal? Please don't twist my words and don't misquote me. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying all religions are equal. You can be Muslim, you can be Christian, you can be Jews. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the Muslim community there are good people and bad people. And in the Christian community there are good people and bad people. In the Jewish community there are good people and bad people. And people who don't know anything about the sound, clear message of Islam are excused for what they do from our Aqidah perspective. Because they don't know. If I don't know something, how is Allah going to ask me? That's not fair. Allah doesn't do that. قال الله وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Very good question from Brother Idris. MashaAllah, open the door for more reflections. I might just read the last comment, and I think these lessons are enough for today. And I think they were very powerful based on your questions, MashaAllah, that are related to the topic. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can we please refrain from asking questions during your Juz lecture because we are failing of topic? Yeah. Once the question is actually not related, I'm actually going to refrain from it unless it's on Friday. So it's on Friday in 1:15. We have the question and answer session, and I'm going to answer all questions, even if they are not related to what I'm saying. But every day in our lecture at 9, and then from Ramadan 15th, it's going to be at 9:30. If the question is related, like today's questions, I am going to, inshallah ta'ala, answer them. And I hope that's okay for everyone. So we can have less time, we don't waste your time, inshallah ta'ala, and our energy. And at the same time, we all benefit. And I hope your questions all are related to the topic we're talking about in our daily Juz' Tafsir. But on Friday, ask whatever else you want. And if I don't have the answer, I'm actually the first one to tell you I don't know. I love to say I don't know. Immediately. It's straightforward. I don't know means I don't know. Thank you, Dr. Mohamed Masloh. Barakallah fikum, Sister Shalin. She is one of our converts. Very happy to see you here. Barakallah fiki. Thank you for being connected. Please invite other converts to our halaqat, inshallah ta'ala, the daily lecture at 9. Please invite them and ask them to join. And if they have questions, they can post it here. They can inbox me, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Barakallah fikum. Very good interactive session. I am the first one who actually, Sister Roslyn is here, also one of our converts. Jazakumullah khairan. Very happy to see you. I am very happy to see our converts here. Very happy, because we don't have our new Muslims class during Ramadan. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Salah and Sister Reem and everybody else. I'm the one who benefits the most from these sessions because I prepare myself and I study more. And your questions are going to make me study more, inshallah Azza wa Jal, if I don't know the answers for some of your questions. Thank you so much for being with us here. Please make sure that you share this knowledge if you think it's beneficial, and maybe share the links with other people if you think it's beneficial for people and other people are gonna know the message of Islam, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. رمضانكم مبارك. Don't forget to read your juz and pray your tarawih. جزاكم الله خيرا. And see a lot of messages saying جزاكم الله خيرا. Brother Muhammad Osman, please tell my salam to your family, Brother Munir and Muntasir and everybody else in your family. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.